All right, so we're going to review that warm up, the 5 questions. Can you guys see the board okay behind me? You can see all of the questions? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? Okay. So, I'll take a picture of it on my phone. Number 1 said, write out the algebraic equation and solve. So, at an ice cream parlor, 3 friends decide to divide the bill evenly. If each friend paid $7, what was their total bill? How could we write that as an equation? That means we need to have an equal sign, a variable equals. We do need to divide. So something divided by how many people? Something divided by 3 is going to equal how much money? $7. So what do I put here? What do we not know? X, it's your unknown thing. It's your variable. So the amount of money that they pay total divided by 3 is $7 per person. Okay, if you wrote it like this, X divided by 3 equals 7, it's the same thing. Remember, a fraction bar means the same thing as dividing. So that would work too. But that's kind of the way you do it. You kind of have to write it backwards and think about like, okay, well, it equals 7, something times 3 gives me, something divided by 3 gives me 7, right? These are difficult. We're going to work on these more and more in the next few weeks. So if you didn't get this, that's okay. What is it? It is 21. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So their total bill was $21 if we were to solve that. Yes. Number 2 asks you to work with order of operations, which is PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So we need to put these in order from what you do first, second, third, and fourth. So what would you do first out of these? You do parentheses first. The parentheses is first. So there's my number 1. What's next? Exponents. Exponents, which is this one. The evaluate powers means to do the exponents. So that's your 2. Then what? Multiply or divide, whichever one there is, right? That's your 3rd. And that leaves addition and subtraction as last. What you do 4th. So it's just asking you what's the order you do, order of operations. They were a little bit different. The way they wrote it was a little different, huh? Yeah. All right, number 3. What's the question it asks you about this chart? Good. How many students bought 2 cans of food? So these down here are the number of cans that they brought for the food drive. How many students brought 2 cans? 1, 2, 3. The answer is 3 students. Okay. These are weird. The next one. We have a 4-yard piece of fabric costs you $7.04. What is the unit price of fabric per yard? What is a unit price? What does that mean?
Like how much it would cost if you just bought 1 yard.
How much it would cost if you bought 1 yard? How do we do that? What do we need to do? Good. Divide. $7.04 divided by 4. So let's do that. Does 4 go into 7?
Yeah.
How many times? 1 time. Drop down your 4. What's 7 minus 4? 3. What did I forget to do before I started? Good. I forgot to put the decimal up there. Don't forget to do that. Okay, so then that drop down your 0. How many times does 4 go into 30? 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. Subtract and get 2. Drop down your 4. How many times does 4 go into 24? 6 times. Subtract. You get 0. So how much does 1 yard of fabric cost? $1.76 per yard, which is about 3 feet, right? Good. How are we doing so far? Good. Good. 12 feet. Maybe they're making a blanket. You never know. Okay, and number 5, gives you a chart of different types of erasers, and it asks you. Kelly bought a half of a pound of heart erasers. What was the cost? So I wrote up here that heart erasers cost $3 per pound. We need to find half of that. There's multiple ways to do this. You could take 3, multiply it by 1/2. Yes, but let me finish explaining. So you can take the number 3, multiply it by 1/2. The easiest way to do this to find the half of the price of something is divide. Take your number 3, your $3, and divide it by 2. You're splitting it in half. And we're going to change it to a decimal. We're going to keep it as a decimal, and that's going to give you your money. So does 2 go into 3?
Yeah, one time.
One time. Subtract and you get 1. But if I'm going to make this a decimal, what do I need to do? Put a decimal, add a 0. And if you put a decimal, make sure you bring it straight up. Okay, then let's drop down our 0. Does 2 go into 10?
Yeah.
How many times? 5 times. Okay, and that goes in evenly. We're done dividing. So I get the answer of 1.5. But that's not money. That's not how you represent a dollar amount. Right? You don't say it's $1.5. That's not how it works. Good. And you need to make sure that you add your 0 to finish it out. Money always goes out 2 decimal points. So make sure you add that second 0. So how much is half a pound of heart erasers? $1.50. Yeah, you could just write $1, but yeah. Good. So we're gonna do warm-ups like this every day again to get used to all of the things. Wasn't too hard, was it? Once you get going and you read the questions, they're not super difficult, right? All right. So let me stop this. We did have a assignment post. So I'm going to present my screen. We have some notes that we're going to take today. So the notes, yes, you will be typing in it. So the notes are for today. What was I trying to even say? That made no sense. The notes for today are under math. It posted and it's called Histogram Notes. So go ahead and open that up, please. Oh, is that what you printed this one? Sure.
Make sure you delete the time too. Yeah, I didn't do that. They're gonna write next to it. Never mind. Yeah, that's fine.
Give me 1 second. We'll get going in a minute. So for those of you that are doing it online, when we open it up, the first slide is things that help you out with this set of slides that we're going to do, like the undo button, zooming in, zooming out, adding some shapes, adding some lines. We're going to use those a little bit today, so look at those to help you out while I do this. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going on this. Hopefully everybody has it open because that's plenty of time to get it open. So what we're gonna do is go to slide number 2 and talk about what a histogram is. Has anybody ever heard of that? And it has nothing to do with Instagram.
Yeah, it sounds like histogram.
Histogram, so maybe something to do with history.
I think it's gonna be a graham cracker.
A what? A graham cracker. Oh, because the gram?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out
No. I'm going to say that none of those are right so far. No. Well, I heard you say it might be some sort of charts, right? Yeah, so looking farther down the set of slides, you can kind of see that it might be like a graphing type of thing. So we are going to be kind of making a different type of graph. So, oh, we didn't do that yet. Never mind. Ignore what I was about to say. Let's first start by typing out what this even is. Let me make this a little bigger for you guys over here. It's a type of square. I didn't make it much bigger, but so a histogram, the definition we're going to type in that first box is a special type of bar graph used to show the frequency of data using equal intervals, which is a long sentence that we're going to talk about and learn more about. So go ahead and type that first. We're going to write these notes out, and then we're going to discuss them a little bit more in depth. Okay. So it's kind of similar to the dot plots-ish, where we're going to put data on a graph, kind of like the dot plots that we were doing before break ended, right? Or before break started, whatever. Yeah. So it's similar to stuff like that. We're going to be representing data, talking about statistics.
Okay.
More statistics. Okay, so I'll give you about 30 more seconds to get this typed out. I need to take a drink. Make sure you're writing it down if you have a piece of paper one. Skylar, you working on this? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, if you zoom into 100, it's kind of nice. Made it a little bit bigger for those of you guys that are looking at my screen. Oh, wow.
It's at 109, isn't it?
Mine's at 100 right now, I think. All right. So a special type of bar graph that's used to show the frequency of data using equal intervals. So let's talk about a few of the words in there. What's a bar graph? You've seen these before. There is bars on the graph, yes. Let me show you an example. So a bar graph, I'll go back to it. Bar graph is something like this, right? Question about fruits that are sold. So the type of apples that are sold, or apples are sold, and there was 35 sold, right? Oranges, there were 30 sold. Bananas, there were 10. So a bar graph just gives you an amount of something. I could plot your guys' test scores on a bar graph. I could say this many people got 8 out of 10 and draw my line up to that. So bar graphs just show different data, and it's a bar on a graph. Okay, so that's a bar graph. A histogram, all you do is put the bars together more. So focus. So the bars, instead of being separated like they are in this bar graph, they get put together like, let me show you what a histogram looks like. Histograms look more like this, where the bars are just touching each other instead. That's one of the major differences. In histograms, the bars touch. In bar graphs, they do not.
It seems like something that would be used for business.
They do use this in business a lot, yeah. Good. So that's what a bar graph is. So it's just a variation of a bar graph, and it's used to show a frequency. We talked about the word frequency. What does frequency mean?
I honestly, I heard of it before.
You have heard it before. We have talked about it. It has to do with frequent. What does frequent mean? How frequent something happens. Kind of. Frequency means how many times something happens. So if I want to see how the frequency of basketball shots that LeBron James makes, I would just count the number of times he makes a basket. It's how many times it happened. Okay? And then equal intervals means that we are going to use numbers that go from 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15. So it's just a range that you're going to use that are equal. Okay? Our next one, number 2, says, in a histogram, there are no blank between bars that show the data is blank. What did I say goes here? There's no what in between the bars? There's no space in between the bars. Good. To show that the data is, this one you guys won't know. It shows that the data is continuous, which we talked about that word today already. I did not spell that correctly. Maybe I did. Why does it look so weird? Continue. Yeah. I was like, this looks weird. I know it's not right. Nope, that's right. Okay, there we go. Anyway. So the bars are completely next to each other to show that the data is continuous, that it just continues moving no matter what. The data doesn't stop. Okay. Okay. Number 3. When making a histogram, data should be divided into what? Not numbers. Yeah, I don't expect you guys to know all this. So this is intervals, which is just a set of numbers from 0 to 5, 6 to 10, or maybe it's 0 to 10, 11 to 20. So it's just a set of numbers. Any numbers that fall between 0 and 10 will be marked on that data. Okay. We're just starting again. These things get less confusing the more we do them. The next one, number 4, says each interval should have the same number of blank in it. Any ideas? I don't think. This one is values. So if I say 1 through 5, that is numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's 5 numbers. If I say 6 through 10, that is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another 5 numbers. 11 through 15 is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 5 numbers. So it should have the same amount of numbers in each interval. Okay. And number 5. Each bar in a histogram shows the what? Where we just talked about. No, starts with an F. No. Frequency. It shows the amount of times that something happens. Each bar shows the amount that it happens. So if we were making a chart about basketball players and the amount of shots that they make, if we had LeBron James as the bottom, we would draw the histogram as tall as the amount of shots that he made. If we had Steph Curry on the next one, it would be the amount of shots that he made. That's all the basketball players I know, so that's as much as you're going to get. Okay, Michael Jordan. And then the amount of shots he made, right? And then, number 6. In a histogram, the bars must be the same width. I'm not going to make you guys guess that one. The same width. Yeah, so they're not like, one's not like super long and wide, and the other one is super skinny. And then another one is really long. They're just all the same width. Okay? Brian too?
I did not.
Jackson.
We might. We'll see how far we get. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to finish this up. Jada, wake up, please. Okay, about 30 seconds to finish up this slide, and then we're going to go to our next slide. Interesting. Did you draw on it? Well, I don't know.
You're not drawing.
Oh, I got one. It says non-toxic.
How are we doing online? Doing good? Need anything?
That's our own color on the top of the color number.
Okay, about 30 seconds. Finish typing these couple out. So writing them down if you need to be.
Oh, I got it.
Yep. Okay. Ooh, almost fell. It's fine. Let's look at our next slide. Slide number 3 talks about how to create a histogram. So how to make it, basically. How to draw it, which we're going to practice as well. But step number 1 is create blank, which is create the intervals. So you need to decide what numbers are going to be in what part. And again, we're going to do this multiple times. We're just going to write the steps out first. So step 1, create the intervals. Okay, step 1, create the intervals. Step number 2, sort the data into each of the intervals. So sort the data into each interval. I'll put the correct number in the correct place.
Oh, come on. No.
Okay, step number 3 is mark the axes, which means just label what goes where. So we were talking about basketball players and the number of shots, right? So basketball players would be on your bottom of your chart, and then the number of shots is on the side of your chart. So you're just going to label what goes where. So mark the axes is AXES. So basically mark the sides of your chart so that you know what represents what.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, step 1, create the intervals. Step 2, sort the data into the intervals. Step 3, mark the axis, which means label what they mean. Step 4 is when you actually draw it. So draw bars, go right here. So draw the bars to represent the frequency of the data. So how many times something happens. And remember that the bars must be touching. And they have to be the same width, so the same size. Now, when I say width, do I mean the wideness of it or how tall it is? Other one. It's the, okay, we're all.
The length.
It's the how wide it is, right? The tall is going to change because there are going to be different numbers that go in each one. But the width of your bar, how wide it is going to stay the same no matter what. Okay? So after you sort them all out, then you draw your bars. And step number 5, label all the parts of your histogram. So right here should be label. After that, you will label the parts. And again, we're going to work on this together. I'm not just going to be like, okay, now draw a histogram. We're going to do a couple together. All right, I'll give you about 30 seconds to get this stuff typed out. And then we're going to go practice it on slide number 4 and 5. We're going to learn how to do this. Yeah, well, the box you're going to copy and paste and then make it taller or shorter as you need to. All right, so let's look at slide number 4. So this is where we are going to draw this out. So it says create a histogram using the data set below. So it gives you this box full of numbers, correct? And it's, what are these box of numbers for? What do they represent? No, read the chart. What does it say those numbers are? The number of minutes it takes someone to get to school. So let's say all of the kids that they asked walk to school. One of these kids, it takes 5 minutes to walk to school. Another one, it takes 15 minutes. Another kid takes 13 minutes to walk to school. So depends on the kid and how far away they live. So what we're going to do, they already created the intervals for us. These right here are the intervals. Do you see where my box is highlighted? Oh, whoops. So right here are the intervals. So from 0 to 4 minutes is the first interval. From 5 to 9 minutes is the second interval. 10 to 14 minutes is the next one. And then the last one is 15 to 19 minutes. So we're going to count how many times these happen. So let's start with 0 to 4 minutes. How many kids does it take 0 to 4 minutes to get to school? How many do you see? 0 to 4. Count those up.
Wait, do you go all the way to 4?
Yeah, you go all the way to 4. Yep. If you see the number 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, how many times do you see it?
3.
I see 3. So we have the number 4 right here. So that's 1. And then we have 2 and 3. So what? I don't understand your question. You just count how many numbers are between 0 and 4. So anytime you see a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, you count it as 1. So there were 3 numbers that are between 0 and 4. So we're going to change the number sign down here to a 3. That's the amount of numbers that are between 0 and 4. The next one, you're looking to see how many numbers are between 5 and 9. And you count the numbers 5 and 9. You use them. So how many are there? Let's see. They're not all 3. I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, no, you're counting how many times you see it in your data set. Not just like, yeah, not just like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4. You need to count how many times you see the number in your set of data that's given to you. So this one, I see the number 5 and 6 and 5 and 6. That's all I see on this. So how many are there?
4.
There's 4 on this one. Good. Try 10 through 14 and 15 through 19 on your own. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to count those up and write those ones down.
Does it show a certain box there?
No, they're kind of random in the thing, so you got to count through them, yeah.
number 10 and 12.
10, 11, 12, 13, or 14. Can you count the same number twice? Yeah. Yeah, if it happens twice, times twice. I got 6.
All right, let's look at 10 through 14. How many times did you see any number that's between 10 through 14? 6?
Yep.
There are 6 of them. So there are 6 of them because you have let's see, we got 10 and 13 right here. Those are between 10 through 14. So there's 1, 2, none in that row, 11, 12, 13. So 3, 4, 5 that are between there. There's another 13, so that's 6. 6 that are between 10 and 14. Did anybody get to 15 through 19? How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I have the number. 7. So there are 7 numbers that are between 15 and 19. And if they happen twice, you count them twice. So there's 2 13s, you count 2 13s. That's worth 2, right? Yep. So now that we have our numbers, we just need to draw our chart. So they already gave you this red box down here. You need to make copies of it. So right click, copy and paste it.
You don't need to pull it.
You can just pull it?
Yeah, there's so many more.
Oh, there's one underneath. Never mind. Then why does it say copy and paste? Okay, so our first one, let's take one of these boxes. We need to go between 0 and 4, but it's not the correct height. How many numbers do we see that were between 0 and 4? There were 3, so we're going to make it a little bit skinnier so that it fits, and it needs to be a little bit taller to go up to the 3. So you need a box right there between that goes up to 3, because there were 3 numbers and 3 kids that take 0 to 4 minutes to walk to school. Because we're talking about how long it takes them to walk to school.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to make them the same length as width.
Just do your best to make them the same width. They might be a little bit off. It's okay if they're not the best, but yeah. Our next one, 5 through 9. How many kids walk between 5 and 9 minutes? 4. So let's move one of those up here, and we got to resize it again. So I'm going to make it skinnier, as close as you can, and then it's up to 4 because it needs to be as tall as the 4. So 4 students. Make them as even as possible in terms of how wide they are. It might not be exactly, which is fine. Okay, what about 10 through 14? How many? 6. So we need to do that again. Bring this up.
Do they have to cut?
Yes, they have to touch. And then resize it so that it is skinnier, and it needs to go up to 6 because it takes 6 kids between 10 and 14 minutes to get to school. What's our last one? Yep. For the kids that walk 15 to 19 minutes, there are 7. So we're going to need to make that skinnier again as well. I did not make these even. Do your best. I'm going to make mine a little bit wider. Just make them as close as you possibly can to as wide as they need to be. But make sure that they are as tall as they should be. They do need to be a specific height to tell you how many kids are in those categories. Okay? And we just created a histogram. We're done. That's all we need to do. Was that too difficult? No, the hardest part is figuring out how many numbers are in each category, right? Okay. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to finish this one out, and then we're going to look at slide number 5. We might be finishing this tomorrow, just so you know. We probably won't finish it today. But we're going to at least do the next slide.
Autograph doesn't touch. histograms, they all touching each other.
So I put bars down, I turned it to bar. That's actually made it by.
If the bars are touching, it turns it into a histogram.
Yeah. And the reason their bars are touching is because the data it continues. So if you look at the zero, or our data right here, right? It goes 0 through 4, and then it goes immediately into 5 through 9. So it just continues on. But bar graphs, it can be like 0 through 4, and then it can skip all the way to 20 through 30. Doesn't have to be even. Yeah. All right, let's look at slide number 5. Let's do one more of these, and then we will probably be done for today and finish this up tomorrow.
And go to lunch.
We will go to lunch, yes. I'm quite hungry, so that's good. So our next one, we're going to create another histogram. What is this data about this time? What is this data about? Good. The number of minutes that students spend on homework every day. So we have one kid that spends 5 minutes on their homework, which is not very long. So that's Alex, right? And then we have another kid. Let's see, what's the highest? Another kid that spends 30. I see a 32. I think that's the highest. 37. There's a 37. Another kid that spends 37 minutes on their homework every night. So it really depends on the kid, right? So we need to count up our intervals. Notice that your intervals are bigger this time. Instead of 0 through 4, we have 0 through 9 minutes spent on homework. And then 10 through 19 minutes spent on homework. 20 through 29 minutes spent on homework. And 30 to 39 minutes spent on homework. So let's do 2 of them together, and we'll do 2 separate. Let's start with 0 through 9. Let's count them up. I see 1. I see 1. There's only 1. One kid spends 5 minutes on their homework, so that is a 0 through 9, right? Okay. 10 through 19 might have some more, right? So let's look at 10 through 19. Oops. And you remember, you need to count the number 10 and 19 as well. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see 7 kids that spend between 10 and 19 minutes on their homework. Yeah. Did I count? So I have the number 10. That's between it. I have the number 13. And then in the next row, I have 12. Then there's an 11. There's a 13. And a 10. And then down here is an 18. So 7 total. So 7 kids spend between 10 and 19 minutes on their homework. Let's take about 30 seconds. I want you guys to figure out how many kids spend between 20 and 29 minutes. And then do the 30 to 39 as well. That'll be fun to plot on our graph then. Okay, count them up. Bless you.
What the heck? I don't know how to do this thing.
Good. About 15 more seconds. Count up how many students spend 20 to 29 minutes on their homework, and then count up how many students spend between 30 and 39 seconds.
I know that one. I know all of them. I don't. I just don't know how to do it. Oh. Okay, I did it.
Okay. How many spent between 20 and 29 minutes?
9.
10.
9.
I got 10. Well, my answer key says 10. So let's count. So 20 to 29, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 of them. 10 students spend between 20 and 29 minutes on their homework. What about 30 to 39 minutes? The answer key got 6. So let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6. So maybe if you were always off by 1, maybe just go back and count. Another way to check is that, let me finish my sentence, please. When you aren't sure, one way to check is to count or add up how many total you have. So 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 10 is 18, plus 6 is 24. There should be 24 numbers here total. If you don't get 24 numbers or you miscounted somewhere, then you missed something somewhere. Okay, yes?
I multiplied 6 by 4.
Oh, to get the,
And
yeah.
then added those up, and then I got 1 off because I did 1, 6, 10.
So you had to figure out where you missed one. Yep, good. Okay, so now we need to make our histogram. So let's start with 0 through 9. How many kids spend between 0 and 9 minutes on their homework? 1. So we need to move that over here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller this time. Now the issue on this is it goes by 2s. How do I know where the 1 is? Good. Go in the middle of 0 and 2. It's directly in the middle.
Also, I did get it right.
There's 1. One kid spends 0 to 9 minutes on their homework.
If you notice, it's only 4 boxes.
On the, like, that you pull away. The next one, 10 through 19. How many kids spend between 10 through 19 minutes on their homework? 7. So again, this goes in intervals of 2. How do I know where to put the 7? 6 and 8. Good. In between the 6 and the 8. And try to just make them as, oh, mine's not touching. Ooh, it's not touching. Make sure they're touching. There we go. Remember, it's a histogram if your bars are touching. It's a bar graph if they're not touching. The bars have to be touching. What about 20 through 29? How many kids spend that much time on their homework? Not 6. 10. Yeah, you were just looking at the wrong one. There we go. So our bar needs to go up to 10.
Why did it go up so high?
Because there's 10 kids that spend that much time on their homework. Is this making more sense the more we do it? I know. When we type it all out, you guys are like, oh my God. And then I'm like, just wait. It's not that hard. And finally, 30 through 39. How many kids spend that much time on their homework? 6. There we go. Perfect. So there is our histogram for number of minutes spent on homework. So now the good news is we're done for the day, but also on your test on Friday that we take, it doesn't ask you to create histograms. You're just going to be answering questions about them. But the reason that we're making them is so that it's easier for you guys to understand how to answer the questions, right? If you can create a histogram, you can answer the questions about it too. That's my thought process, at least. So tomorrow we will answer some questions about it. So there's quite a few to finish up tomorrow. We'll start on slide number 6 tomorrow, but they'll go quicker because it's just asking questions about the graphs, filling out a couple of charts, asking more questions, and then we're doing one more that I'll probably have you guys do on your own. So you do not need to finish the notes today. We will finish them tomorrow together. Sound good? Okay, so those of you that are online, you guys can head out, and we will see you at 12:30 for science. We're going back to science soon. And then, yeah, that's good. We'll see you at science. I'm going to stop our recording.